Hold you now and watch a hoodwink, make you stop thinking. I can't talk that quickly. It's the finest of the flavors. That's the part that everyone knows. Bare naked ladies. Sometimes ladies are bare naked. Someone fish to the dish because I like the shells, fish like sushi because it's them. Forget, when do we do this part? I'm Hannah Kaiser. Ooh, I'm crying. From what? I'm Hannah Kaiser, and this is the Bandwagon. Last week, I somewhat begrudgingly bandwagoned the A's because even though they're still hovering right around 500, their ability to get the best bang for their buck through consistently savvy moves is something to be admired. On this week's episode, however, we're talking about literally the opposite of that, which is why I'm bandwagoning Zombie Marlins. By which we mean the cadre of superstar and all-star talent around the league that debuted in South Florida before being shipped off for pieces that have almost universally underperformed. I'm not the first person to have noticed that plenty of teams around baseball are benefiting from the performance of guys signed by the Marlins, just not the Marlins themselves. Mark Craig of The Athletic wrote a big feature last month looking at the 2019 Marlins that could have been, in which he concludes that had they held on to a whole bunch of dudes having breakout seasons elsewhere, they would have been projected to win 102 games this year.
A lot of games.
The actual 2019 Marlins are on pace to win 59 games.
Not a lot of games.
What does all of this have to do with fandom? Well, maybe you've noticed that I tend to view billionaire owners as the necessary evil of the baseball ecosystem, and no one was less necessary or more evil than Jeffrey Loria. Pretty sure even current Marlins fans would have my back on that one since the city is literally suing him for fudging his finances and stealing their money. Oh, allegedly. Rooting for the zombie Marlins to reach new levels of success after moving on from a Miami team that didn't appreciate them is the perfect you to a man who left his mangled franchise in the incapable hands of Derek Dietrich to go join the Trump administration.
Yeah,
and they didn't even give him the gig. He's not the ambassador to France right now. Or I just wanted another excuse to talk about Derek Dietrich, but more on him later. I'm just gonna tell you the names of some of the players who could be on the Marlins right now if not for the front office's stunningly bad trade track record. Right now, the Marlins could have on their roster Christian Yelich in right field.
Ooh.
Giancarlo Stanton coming back from injury to play left field.
Ah.
I wonder if he would still go by Mike in Miami. Mike Stanton in left field. Marcell Ozuna in center field. D. Gordon at second base.
Yes.
JT Realmuto catching.
Okay.
And my boy Derek Dietrich, who's supposed to play second base, but he can play first base.
Get it.
He wasn't even traded, they just released him. That's a pretty powerful 1 through 6 in the lineup, but what about pitching? At one point, the Marlins had Luis Castillo, Chris Paddock, and Domingo Germán. With all of those guys gone, the face of the franchise is minority owner Derek Jeter. And to be fair to Jeets, even the moves made during his tenure can be traced back to the mess he inherited from Loria, who, let's not forget, also killed the Montreal Expos. But one thing that is squarely Jeter's fault is the removal of the deeply tacky home run sculpture from center field.
Yeah, Jeets.
The 7-story physical manifestation of kitsch was not good art by any means, but it was something that people outside the city knew about the stadium aside from the catastrophically low attendance. I'm pretty sure the sculpture was quietly relocated somewhere else, but since it is no longer part of the game-going experience, I am dubbing it a zombie Marlin.
Yeah. Ooh.
Frankly, the Marlins as a team suck, but the Marlins of yore are crushing it. Good for them. I mean, why else do we make this hat with a logo that looks like I'm a server at a second-rate Key West seafood bar and restaurant?
You like Key West?
I do. I used to go there all the time when I was a little kid. I think I was in Key West when my parents told me that Lenny Dykstra retired, and I cried and told them they ruined my vacation. I was like, why would you tell me that? Key West, I'm a fan. Let's do fan, not a fan.
Yeah. Go get the ball out of the ocean.
Okay, so Max Muncy hit a home run off Madison Bumgarner.
Muncy hits this ball to deep right field. Forget about it. Muncy with a splash hit.
And Madison Bumgarner said to him, run. And Max Muncy took 2 bases to think of a good retort. And then he said, get the ball out of the ocean.
Bird can't swim.
And then he was so proud of himself for that joke that he repeated it.
I just responded back, if you don't want me to watch the ball, you can go get it out of the ocean.
Madison Bumgarner is like just so butthurt, and so I am happy for Max Muncy. However, this joke is not that funny, and Max Muncy should think of a better comeback line. I'm a fan of this whole thing, but Max Muncy should get joke writers.
Dugout meltdowns.
Brett Gardner tried and failed to hit a home run and was unhappy with this result, and so he threw his helmet at the ball, and it hit him in the face. Now be careful, physics.
Newton.
I'm a fan of the fact that this happened to him. I think that it will teach him an important lesson to process his emotions in a more healthy way.
Yeah. Adrian Beltre's head thing.
Adrian Beltre doesn't like when people touch his head, and they touch his head because of that.
Good recap.
It is how it goes. He's like, I don't like when people touch my head. And then people are like, good to know, Adrian. The Rangers retired his number this week, which gave people another opportunity to touch Adrian Beltre's head, and they did. I'm a huge fan of all of this. I don't know whether or not we're advocating for people invading Adrian Beltre's personal space and crossing his physical boundaries that he's like explicitly made clear repeatedly. This is maybe a consent issue. What? I'm just saying. He would be like, guys, I know you think this is funny, but it's just really important to me that I have agency over my own body. No, I'm still a fan of it. Sorry. It's really funny. I'm sorry.
Smash Mouth. All-Star.
Yeah, I love Smash Mouth. I love All-Star. I think it's the best song of the 20th century. Fan. Also, they're great on Twitter. Huge fan of the Padres singing this. Have we bandwagoned the Padres yet?
Not yet.
We should do that next week.
Okay. In sync gifts.
Synchronized gifts. GIFs.
Yes.
They are the highest form of entertainment the human race has or will ever achieve. They make me so happy. I feel like, what's her name with the sloths? This is how I am about the synchronized NBA videos. The one where they all go. I'm a huge fan of these. Please send them to me.
Bieber versus Cruz.
Who challenged whom?
Bieber.
I don't really know what the origin story here is, but I think Justin Bieber and Tom Cruise might MMA fight. Is that what it is?
Yeah. Definitely happening.
This sounds like toxic masculinity, so not a fan.
Black Mirror.
I've never seen it. People are always like, watch Black Mirror, and I'm like, maybe, and then they explain it to me, and they're like, I think you'd really like it. And I'm like, I think I'd really like it too, and then I just continue to not watch it, because inertia is a very powerful force. And there's 15 baseball games every night, I gotta do this With the All-Star Game less than a month away, Major League Baseball recently unveiled a new ballot system, and I don't really understand it at all, and I refuse to learn. You get 17 votes every day, and anytime you search almost anyone, even Richie Martin, who is apparently a baseball player on the Baltimore Orioles, Google prompts you to vote for him. Almost everyone, that is, except Derek Dietrich. The Reds' breakout star signed a minor league deal with the team after being DFA'd by the Marlins and made the big league roster out of spring training as a bench player, so it's not all that surprising that asked to nominate a second baseman, the Reds' front office went with Jose Peraza. Peraza does have more starts at second base than Dietrich, they just haven't been as successful or as memorable. Peraza is slugging just .329 with 5 home runs, while Dietrich is slugging .634 with 17 home runs through 20 fewer plate appearances. But I'm not arguing whether Peraza deserves a spot on the ballot, I'm simply saying that it's a disservice to the spirit of an exhibition game designed to be populated by the players who are most likely to make meaningless baseball exciting, to deprive them of the dude who is righteously criticized by a broadcaster for having too much fun. Not to mention, Dietrich is from Cleveland, the site of this year's Midsummer Classic, and who doesn't love a hometown hero? Dietrich can still be tapped for the Home Run Derby, or he could be selected as an alternate, but in order to end up on the All-Star Game starting lineup, Dietrich would need a write-in campaign from fans. So I guess my humble proposal this week is, do that.
Let's do it. Woo. Yeah. Right in.
This week, I was a fan of the zombie Marlins. That's really all you got going for you right now in Miami, is the fact that some guys used to be there who are now good. Fan of Brett Gardner learning the rules of physics. Fan of Adrian Beltre when people touch his head. Sorry, Adrian Beltre. Huge fan of NBA gifts when they do the same thing at the same time. And a huge fan, as always, of Derek Dietrich, who deserves to go to the All-Star Game.
Show us your chest.